Joining us for our online day of mindfulness today. We are so happy that you can all connect to our community here in Plum Village as we nourish ourselves with the beautiful practices that Thay have given us in a more relaxed way. So you will see behind me, we have Thay's altar here in the Stillwater Meditation Hall. And the monastics are steadily gathering. We've already had some sitting and ceremonies in our own hamlets this morning, and we'll be gathering to listen to the Dharma talk together. And today we've chosen a Dharma talk from the 21-day retreat in 2014. Some of you may have had a chance to participate in that retreat directly. The title of the retreat was What Happens When We Die and What Happens When We're Alive. And we hope that this is a koan, a question that many of us have been holding, and we'll have an opportunity this morning to listen to Thay answer some questions on this very important subject. We will begin this morning with a guided sitting meditation. So please, if you're at home, it will be a brief meditation, maybe just of 5 or 10 minutes or so. So please find a comfortable position, checking in with our back, our shoulders, and to really take a moment to settle. And you can visualize yourself arriving in this hall, just like our brothers and sisters are doing now, and coming together to arrive into our body and arrive into our breathing. And we know these are very sacred days that we are practicing together. And let us continue to keep our hearts open to listen to ourselves, to our feelings, and take care of our body. And always taking refuge in our breathing. So we will have the guided sitting meditation followed by the Dharma talk from June 2014, a Q&A. And after that, we will also have a chance to guide you in walking meditation, and we will film live our introduction to walking meditation here in Plum Village. And then we'll also have a chance to eat together online. So a real time for community, brotherhood, sisterhood, and togetherness. So thank you so much for joining us. And we will begin with the sitting meditation. Thank you. I listen, I listen. This wonderful sound brings me back to my true home. Breathing in, I enjoy my in-breath. Breathing out, I enjoy my out-breath. Sitting here, we can feel the Sangha gathering in Plum Village and the Sangha gathering online. And we're just taking a moment to breathe together, to arrive, to find our true home inside. Breathing in, I know I am alive. Breathing out, I smile to life inside me and around me. Alive, smiling. Breathing in, I'm aware that I have a body. Breathing out, I take care of my body, adjust my posture, release any tension I can find. Breathing in, aware of my body. Breathing out, easing my body. Breathing in, I am aware of my Sangha body, the community that lives in harmony and awareness, the community practicing Thay's teachings all over the world. Breathing out, I open my heart to feel connected to my international Sangha body, aware of the Sangha body, breathing in, feeling connected to the Sangha body, breathing out. Breathing in, I'm aware that Thay is breathing with me, with this in breath, its gentleness, its warmth, its kindness and compassion. Breathing out, the whole Sangha is breathing with Thay in each one of us. Breathing in with Thay, the whole Sangha breathing in and out with Thay.
Good morning, dear Sangha. Will you hear well? Not well enough. Good morning, dear Sangha. Is better? Um, Today is the 21st of June. I'm aware. The Sangha is still with me. I'm breathing in. I know that the Sangha is still there with me. Breathing out, I smile to my Sangha. And we are in the Assembly of Stars meditation hall of the Lower Hamlet, Plum village. This is the last day of our 21-day retreat. Today we have a session of questions and answers again. It's the second one. And those of us who still have a question, I invite you to come here and sit around and we take the turn to sit on that chair and ask the question. Remember that before we ask the question, we listen to the bell and we breathe together with the Sangha. And the young people, they are encouraged to come and ask their question. We still have that plant of corn with us. It has been practicing with us. And if you look, you see now it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leaves. In the beginning, there were only 2. And this is one. This one seems to be the elder. You see, the elder, and it began to not to die, to get old. You see. So the question is whether this leaf is going to die, and we know that it's going to dry up in a few days. It is the big sister of all the other leaves. And if we look deeply, we see that every day, every night, it's breathing, getting the sunshine, the gas, in order to nourish herself and also to nourish the whole plant. It has been doing its role of a big sister, nourishing herself and nourishing the whole plant. So if we are attentive, mindful, we see that she is also in her younger sister. She is not only in this form, but she is already in the other leaves. So we can see that this is her continuation body. This is also her continuation body, and so on. So when we see her dry up, don't say that she is dead. She's no longer there. She continues always, right? And that is why we have to every day to think and to take care of our continuation body. Our continuation body is already there, and every day we nourish them. And it is our continuation bodies that carry us into the future. We will not die. We will never die. we continue to be in our continuation bodies. So each practitioner has to recognize his or her continuation bodies right now. And we know that what we transmit to our continuation bodies is our thoughts, our speech, and our action. And we are responsible for our action, and we are responsible for our continuation. So we should be thankful to this kind of call. It has been with us, meditating day and night. And just looking at her, we can learn quite a lot of things. And yesterday we had a Dhamma talk on the continuation body. And I see my continuation body very clearly. Not vague at all, very complete. And I always try to transmit to my best to my continuation body. The practice is to nourish yourself and to nourish your continuation bodies. Not only one body, but many bodies. Let us listen to the bell and ask the first question.
Dear Thay, dear Sangha, with my practice I have been realizing how deep and how strong were the ideologies I built as a child to protect myself from the instability of my environment, and how important for my inner balance it became to be first at school, and how I unconsciously took the habit of always looking at me as the first to hide my fear and to give me illusory confidence. And I know that this coming school year will be academically very challenging. So I'd like to have some advice on how to practice in order to go through this year while these ideologies, which were the ground I stood on, are falling down.
Dear Thai, dear Sangha, our friend shared that since she was a young girl, she had a lot of ideologies that became part of her, including the need to be number one at school. And being number one at school helped her overcome her fear and gave her confidence, striving to be number one. But since she has been here, she sees this ideology, this need begin to fall apart, and it's as though the ground on which she stood is falling apart underneath her. But she still has a coming school year. So she's asking Thay for some guidance, how to go forward in this year to come.
This is the concern of many people. In the military, in the business circle, people want to be number one because they believe that to be number one is a basic condition for happiness. And that is a kind of a view. It has been transmitted to us by maybe our ancestors and maybe our collective thinking. And because of that, we have to strive day and night and type ourselves out. So that view is very costly. We have to pay with our whole life. And we might not experience joy, happiness, relaxation because we hold that kind of view. And maybe we ourselves, we don't want to have that view, but that view has been transmitted to us. And our parents are trying to force it on us. And also society is encouraging the same kind of view. And it's based on the wrong view of self, wrong view of self lead to the wrong view to be number one. Because if there is no self, then there will be no number one. So meditation is an act of looking deeply. And when you look deeply, you have a right view. Why do I have to be number one? Is it a necessary condition for happiness? Why my ancestors, my parents want me to be number one? And we can find many answers. Maybe our ancestors wanted to be number one, but they could not, so they want us to do it for them. So we have meditated on that. Every time we come up and chant, we say that let us breathe as one body, chant as one body, and listen as one body, flowing like a river, and transcend the illusion of the separate self, overcoming the superiority complex, the inferiority complex, and the equality complex. That is to help us to see we have to abandon the wrong view of ourselves. And with the wrong view of ourselves is gone, the wrong view that number one is the only condition for you to be happy will be gone also. Sometimes we don't want to be number one, but it happens that you have to be number one. And sometimes, very often we want to be number one, but we do not become number one. We think that the president of a big country like Barack Obama is a number one, the most powerful person in the country. But I think Mr. Obama knows better that he is not powerful enough. He does not have enough power. He feels very powerless. There are many things he wants to do, but he cannot do it. So if he does not have enough power, how can we have enough power? And is the number one happy? And that is our meditation. So what do we want? To be number one or to be happy? So when we are able to transform our view from wrong view to right view, not only we help ourselves, we are liberated, but we liberate our ancestors, and we liberate the world from the wrong view. That if you don't become number one, you cannot be truly happy. And when you are a student, if you study only to become number one, you are not a happy student. Because to study can be a very wonderful thing. There is a need to learn, to understand. Because we have two basic needs. We want to understand the world. We want to understand life. And then the second basic desire is to love and to be loved. So the two basic needs is to understand and to love. And to be a student, you have a chance to learn. You are curious about things, and as you study, you satisfy your first need to understand. So to study is very fulfilling. A good teacher is also someone who studies all the time, because he knows that he knows many things, but he can know more. So both teacher and students get a lot of happiness while trying to find out more about reality and to understand more. So if we study like that, our academic year will be wonderful. But if we study just because we want to get a diploma to be number one, we will suffer for the whole academic year. So up to you to decide. And if you change your view into a right view, you are making a revolution. Yeah. And many young people, if they see you happy, and to be happy doesn't mean that you study, you don't study well, but you are happier when you study better. And even if you don't want to be number one, you must be the number one. You see? So that is why there are those of us who do not want to be number one, but it just happened like that. That is a byproduct only. The first product is happiness. So I think we have to tell our friends in school, both teachers and students, that our aim is to be happy and not to be number one. And our happiness can be recognized by other people, and we can set an example for other students, also for our teachers. Good luck.
Thai, dear community, I will try to summarize some of the core points. Our friend has found Thai's teaching on death very comforting. About 18 years ago, he went on a retreat in the Tibetan tradition, and that also had the theme of death. And the teacher spoke in a lot of detail how to transfer consciousness at the point, at the moment of death, but also about what happens after death. And the teacher spoke in some detail about the different hells that exist, those that are cooler and hotter, and certain images that are present in those hells. One of the images was that of a hungry ghost, that we may, in such a hell, be born as someone who has a throat too small, and yet we are very hungry, but we somehow cannot receive the food to go into our body and to nourish us. And there were also some other images that he mentioned. Our friend's question is, are these images offered to help us wake up as some kind of tool to help us live more meaningfully and appropriately in this life, more beautifully in this life? or do these images actually speak of a true reality? So in connection to that, can we speak of hells that are present on earth in this very moment? Are these metaphors for experiences that we may have during life, or are they only something for after our death? There are a few more questions, but I wonder if that's enough.
There's a question about the connection between sleep without dream and then the store consciousness. According to the form of the question, we know that the one who asked the question, he already has the answer. The way he asked the question shows that he already has the answer. Do you agree? But that is also a chance for us to look and to see that the teaching of the Buddha can help many people. Not only the people who have a high intellectual capacity, and the people who do not have enough education. So the teaching of the Buddha help everyone. So there is Buddhism. There is the kind of Buddhism for the vast majority, and then there is deep Buddhism for only a minority. So these teachings might contradict each other as far as the form is concerned. And that is why it is said that in Buddhism there are 4,000 Dharma doors. Many kinds of teaching and many kinds of practice. And there are those who are afraid of punishment. And if they know how to be afraid of retribution, and they behave better. Because they are afraid of retribution. And that is why to talk to them about hell, all kind of hells, hot and cold and so on, that may happen. This is kind of threat. If you behave like that, you will suffer like this. So in many temples we see drawing of hell, and that's kind of warning. If you don't practice the 5 precepts, you will suffer like that. You'll be boiled in the hot oil or something like that. If you lie and then they take when you go to the hell, they take your tongue and they cut your tongue. And that helps many people also. But that does not help other people. That is popular Buddhism. And we know that the vast majority believe in rebirth, in reincarnation, but their belief is based on the wrong view of a self. There is a self, there is a soul that is distinct from the body, and when the body is gone, the soul always survives and seek to penetrate into another body and continue. That is a kind of belief on rebirth and so on. And that is the teaching of rebirth, but it's not truly the deep teaching of the Buddha, because it is based on the wrong view of the self. So any teaching that goes against the insight of impermanence, no self, and nirvana cannot be described as the deepest teaching. So whether you are thinking about cause and effect, rebirth, retribution, if your teaching of your practice do not reflect the insight of impermanence, no self, and nirvana, and that is not truly the teaching of the Buddha. So there are many things that has come from the teaching of the Vedas, of the Upanishads. We know that before the Buddha, there was already the belief in reincarnation and retribution. It's not invented by the Buddha. The teaching of retribution and reincarnation had already existed before the coming of the Buddha. But this teaching was based on the existence of a self. The Buddha, although he teaches the continuation, life after life, but his teaching is based on the insight of no self, impermanence, and finally nirvana, no birth and no death. So, but that kind of belief, which is not purely Buddhist, can also help. And there are those who believe that the Pure Land of Amitabha Buddha is not here, but in the direction of the West. And you get there only after you die. But there are those also who have a better, a different view. We know that the Pure Land, the true Pure Land is in the here and the now. It does not have to be in the West or in the East. When your mind is pure, and then the land is pure also at the same time. It is goes more in the direction of right view. But the spirit of Buddhism is tolerance. So there are those who cannot understand deep Buddhism. We have to allow them to understand, to embrace a form of Buddhism is more diluted, like the medicine with some sugar in it, and they have them. So we are not criticizing them because their teaching and their belief do not go perfectly with the ultimate truth. And because we have compassion, and because we have understanding, that is why compassion is possible. And a true Buddhist is always tolerant, not fanatical. And if you are skillful, you can lead him or her slowly so that they gradually abandon their wrong view and get a better and better view all the times. And that may be applied to all of us. In the beginning, we have an idea about the three rules, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. After 10 years of practice, we have a better view of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And after 50 years, we have a deeper understanding of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So according to that, we should learn the lesson of tolerance. We should not think that our view is the best, because we we are making progress, and we are ready to abandon the present view in order to get a better view, and that is the practice of non-attachment to views. So in Buddhism, if you have that insight, you'll be very tolerant and you accept other forms of Buddhism. You don't criticize. Only you can help people to have a better and better view and better practice. And that is why there should not be conflict and war between Buddhist school or Buddhism. And that has been a reality. There are so many schools in Buddhism, but they never organize holy war to fight each other. And we should be able to keep that tradition, tolerance. And tolerance is, you are not forced to be tolerant, but because you have a right view, that is why your heart is open. And you can tolerate those who do not have the same kind of view as yours. But you should try with loving speech and deep listening in order to help him or her to abandon her view that may still have fanaticism or things like that in it. And here you learn that the present moment is not something that can exist independently from the past and from the future. You cannot cut and separate the past, present, and future. Because the three times, past, present, future, they interact. In one of them, you see the other two. And that's why if you touch the present moment deeply, you touch the past and you touch the future. And that is why the past is still available. And the future is only available. And that is the insight you get when you meditate on the nature of interbeing of time.
If our true nature is nobles and modest, it means that we are condemned to live forever, life after life after life after life. So to me, the teaching of nobles and modest is not a solution, it's a problem. And I don't understand how is it possible not to feel despair and lost with this teaching, because this is not only thinking, this is also feeling, and to me it doesn't help me and it creates more despair. I prefer to die at the end of this life rather to live again.
Dear Thay, dear Sangha, our friend is saying that the teaching about our true nature of no birth and no death would appear to condemn us to live forever. And this teaching has for him not been a solution, but a source of suffering, not just intellectual suffering, but a real feeling of fear and despair. And for him, it seems much more appealing if he could die and be born again. If he could die.
Because if we die, life is short and really intense, so we can enjoy as much as possible, but if we have continued to live, sooner or later we will be really bored.
There are two types of people. One, there's so many of us want to live forever. They're very afraid of dying. And that's why in the history of mankind, many people are seeking immortality. In Taoism, they try to find a kind of herbs, medicines that can make you into an immortal. So immortality is what they want to seek, and underneath that kind of wish, the desire, is the fear of annihilation, the fear of non-being, the fear of non-being. You don't want to pass from the realm of being into the realm of non-being. It's very scary. And we have to understand the mentality of those who are seeking immortality, who are afraid of dying. They're suffering in that kind of view. They're seeking for immortality, afraid of non-being. And on the other hand, there are those who are tired of life. They get bored after 50, 70, or maybe 30 years. And they find that life is unbearable. So they are seeking non-being. And some of them think that to commit suicide is a way to end the suffering and to pass from the realm of being into non-being. And that kind of wish is also based on a wrong view, that there is something you call non-being, non-existence, annihilation, and you like to go there. It's better. You don't suffer anymore. It's no longer boring. So you aspire to non-being, to annihilation. And that kind of desire is based also on a wrong view. But the right view is that birth and death, life and death, they always go together. You cannot take one out of the other. So you are looking for death, and you try to leave a life behind. That is something impossible, because they always want to be together, like the left and the right. You cannot take the left out of the right and the right out of that. That is the law we discover by looking deeply. And then look, and we see that this is a manifestation only. And the notion of left and right is more in our head, in our thinking, than in reality. So all the notions like boring or not boring, suffering and happiness, being and non-being, come more from our mind discrimination, our mind of mental construction, rather than reality. We behave as if we know what the reality is, and we only have to deal with reality. But the reality we think we know is only a construction of our mind. Your birth and death are also a construction of your mind. And it is not reality. And we have learned in this retreat that birth, life and death, birth and death, they are notions more than reality. And being and non-being is a pair of opposites that is there as the foundation of the notion of birth and death. And then your question still reveals that you still believe in a self, in a soul that remains the same always. But in reality, there is nothing like that. There is nothing that can remain the same in two consecutive moments. So who is boring? Who is bored? Because you of this moment is no longer you of the present of the previous moment. And because we have not gone deep enough and touched the true nature of no birth and no death, no self and no other, no being and no non-being. So those who seek nirvana, they may think that those who seek for nirvana, they think that when you touch nirvana, you are no longer, you don't have to be reborn anymore, and you belong to the realm of non-being. And that is the most misleading view about nirvana. Nirvana is eternal death. And for some people, eternal death is the salvation, because you don't have to be reborn and to suffer. And that is a wrong view. And many people, including some Western scholars of Buddhism, they believe that the aim of Buddhism is to get eternal death and complete eternal non-being. But the Buddha has many thousand times denied that. Our aim is not to reach nothingness, to reach annihilation. He has said so many times that I am not teaching annihilation. My view is a kind of insight transcending both notions, annihilation and permanence. That's a pair of opposite. Immortality is one extreme. The immortal soul that can never die. That is one extreme. And annihilation is another extreme. So right view is a kind of insight that transcends both notions, immortality and non-being, annihilation. So meditation is to remove this kind of notions. There are many pairs of notions that you have to remove. And when you are able to remove these notions, you have peace. You don't worry anymore. Especially you don't believe in a self that has to go through samsara, birth and death. There is no birth and death. There is no self that is going through birth and death. And all of that are only notions. And when you get that kind of insight, you are light. You are no longer afraid. And you see that everything renews itself all the time. Joy and happiness are possible. The transformation of suffering is possible. And you can help so many people to suffer less. And life has a meaning. You don't tire yourself out. You don't get bored because you know that your life has a meaning. Your life is useful. And you can generate the energy of compassion and joy in order to help heal the world. and that does not need a permanent self, a soul, or the view of impermanence, the view of immortality, or the view of annihilation, because you are free from all this. So nirvana is first of all the extinction of that kind of suffering, afflictions, like fear, anger, despair. And the extinction of these afflictions is possible only when you can extinguish notions like birth and death, being and non-being. So we can define nirvana in very clear terms: the absence of notions and the absence of suffering born on the base of these notions. Very good smile. Very good smile.
Dear Thay, dear Sangha, this is a very happy moment. So I have two questions. One is about what happens after we die. So I have come across certain situations in my friends' lives, like they have been, she has been pregnant and she was expecting a baby within a week. She had a miscarriage. So the conditions were favorable till that point of time, but something suddenly changed, like no one knew what exactly is the cause. And there is, on the other extreme, there are situations when someone is in an ICU, almost ready to die. Something miraculously saves them. They are like, they say they are reborn, like they are almost bent to touching the death, and then they came back, sprang back to life. So I want to understand what is that makes that manifestation shift possible. And my second question is, so I understand intellectually that dualism is necessary to maintain order in our worldly affairs, and non-dualism is necessary to touch the reality. So these are two contrasting concepts. I would like to know how to embrace the non-dualistic things, like, the dualistic criticism, praise, positive, negative, war, peace. These are like opposite things. How to embrace it in our daily life. Thank you so much.
Dear Thay, dear Sangha, our friend's first question is about being born and dying. For example, when she looks around her, she has a friend who was pregnant and who had a miscarriage after 1 week. And there seems to be no apparent explanation for why that was the case. And it seems that conditions were sufficient until that point, and then conditions were no longer sufficient for life. And at the other extreme, someone who is extremely sick, critically ill in an intensive care unit in a hospital, and they seem to be absolutely on the point of death, and there seems all the conditions seem to suggest that this person will die, but then almost miraculously, they seem to be able to recover. So our friend is asking, what is it? What is the energy that makes life possible or not possible given the conditions? And our friend's second question. Just the keyword. Okay. Our friend's second question was, we have learned in this retreat about the need for opposites so that the daily world, our regular life can function. Opposites such as positive, negative, praise, blame, peace, war. But we've also learned that we do need to transcend these opposites in order to touch the ultimate in ourselves, in the world. So our friend is asking, how can she transcend these opposites in daily life?
According to the teaching of dependent co-arising, it is the conditions that determine everything, and conditions come from the past, come from the future, come from the present moment, and come from several directions. Something looks like going in direction, but maybe another condition just arrived, and it is return, so that it will go into another direction. That happens very often. It's like a young couple, they just married, and they go home, they go for only honeymoon period, and they go killed in accident. So many conditions of happiness have come together, and yet there is another condition that disrupts everything, and that may come from the past, from the action from the past, or from the present somewhere, because we interact with everything. Because anything that happens in the world has an effect on us. Suppose you don't drink alcohol and you drive mindfully, you can avoid the accident, but that's only your part. But when you are out there on the street, someone may be drunk, and there goes the accident. So there are many conditions, many causes that come from many different ways, and that happens every day. When conditions are sufficient, something happens. But on the last minute, there may be counter conditions that come and stop everything. One winter, one winter in the Hermitage, suddenly it got warm, and buds of flowers began to come out. And they said that this New Year, solar New Year, we have some flowers in order to decorate the Buddha altar. But suddenly, a week after that, it became cold again, and all the buds, flower buds, died. And then they said, no, there's no flower to decorate the Buddha's altar this year on New Year Day. But another week after, it became warm again, and flower buds came out again. It's very clear that everything depends on conditions. But the question was whether the flower buds that came the second time, they are the same with the flower buds that came for the first time, or they are different. My mother, before she gave birth to me, she also had a miscarriage. And that child that did not come, he is he my brother, or he is me. I am the same with that child which is supposed to come, or am I a different child? That's the question. And according to the Buddhist insight that you get from meditation, the truth is neither the same. You are neither the same within. You are neither a different person. And this is very clear. Because when you look at the album, family album, you see yourself as a 5-year-old girl. And you might ask, am I the same person with that 5-year-old girl? And the answer is clear. You are, although you are not the same, you look so different, but you are not a totally different person either. So that is the truth. So the flower buds that come later, they are not the same, they are not different. That is the truth. Because when conditions are not sufficient, they stop the manifestation. And they manifest again later on. And everything has to obey the law of impermanence. No self, no sameness, no otherness. And if you can touch the nature of no self like that, you will no longer surprised. You don't ask the question why, and why. And the cloud floating in the sky may enjoy as being a cloud. But a cloud becoming the rain and falling down on earth can also be very beautiful and joyful. And if you see that, you don't discriminate anymore. You don't see that, unfortunately, I can no longer be a cloud. I have to be the rain. But to be the rain is wonderful also. So if you see that you can manifest in many ways. And any manifestation is a wonder. So you don't have to ask anymore why I have to change my form of manifestation. So to remove the notion of self is very important, and that is the main practice, meditation. No self does not mean that you are not there. You are there as a wonder. Only you cannot be by yourself alone. You have to intervene with all of us. And we are all in you, and you are in us. And that kind of insight of interbeing make us peaceful, calm, happy, and we don't have to resist and to complain. And as the two levels of truth are concerned, and then mindfulness is good enough in order to deal with them. If it is a conventional truth, you know that it is a conventional truth. And you are not caught. And if it is ultimate truth, you know that it is ultimate truth, and you are not caught in the ultimate truth either. So you are free. And you accept both kinds of truths. You are not attached to anyone, including the ultimate. Like Buddhism, which is something you like. You want to protect, you want to serve the cause of Buddhism because it's teaching on enlightenment, non-discrimination, and so on. And you might be attached to Buddhism. But that's not good to be attached to Buddhism. we should be free from Buddhism. And if you have that kind of freedom, Buddhism continue to be good Buddhism. No fanaticism. No claim that only we have the truth. You do not have the truth. So that kind of insight, that kind of freedom is very needed for the world. Because we look deeply and we see the plain truth that Buddhism is made only of non-Buddhist elements. When you see that, all kind of fanaticism disappear. And you are free from Buddhism. You are free from the Buddha. How wonderful to be free from the Buddha. How wonderful to be free from Buddhism. And you are the best kind of Buddhism because you have that kind of freedom, even from Buddhism or even from the Buddha. And if all of us on earth have that kind of insight, there will be no war anymore. It's very important. So mindfulness is a powerful. Mindfulness set us free. If it is a conventional truth, we know this is conventional truth only. And there is the ultimate truth. You know, this is the ultimate truth only. The ultimate truth does not have the right to complain that is the only truth, right?
Dear Thay, dear Sangha, our friend Francis was named after the monk St. Francis of Assisi. First of all, she expressed to Thay how inspired she was by Thay's teaching of the bell yesterday, and that she has made a vow to herself to continue Thay and to really master this practice and to live the insight of the Gata deeply, to transcend her own anxiety and sorrow. And her first partial question is how, with such a strong vow, she can do that without having too strong a sense of self. So how can she realize her vow to overcome difficulties in her life, to heal herself? For example, in order to truly transcend anxiety and sorrow, she knows she will have to make a lot of burning decisions to change her way of life against the opinions of those around her, her family and society. So how can she realize that vow without having too strong a sense of self? The second part of her question is that when she experiences difficulties in her life, whether it's anxiety or depression or ill health, she understands these as being a gift from God. Francis is a Christian, and so she takes these as a blessing. It's part of God's plan. So her question is, she sees God as something both outside herself and inside her, but is it true that God is good, that everything God sends to her is good, and that she should receive it as good? Francis is aware that everything arises from conditions, and can we see God's role in these conditions?
You spoke about the death of the self. The dying of the self. I don't think that the self has to die because there is no self to die. The self is just a view, a wrong view, a notion. It's not reality. So there is no need for something that is not there to die. We should not try to kill the self. But you can remove an illusion by having a vision, a deep vision of reality. So practicing the meditation on impermanence because everything is changing so quickly. And naturally, the notion of the self is no longer there, because the self is something that is everlasting, remaining the same. And you may ask whether God is a self or not. Sure, that God is not a self. If God is a self, and then all of us are selves, the big self or the small selves. If there is a me, a self, there should be a non-me existing at the same time. We can accept self as a reality. On the conventional level of truth, we can speak of me and I and you, he and she, but because that designation is useful for conventional designation. If we don't have this conventional designation, we cannot talk. We cannot do business. I, you, this and that are calling it conventional designation. The problem is that we have to be aware that it is only conventional designation, and you are free from it. You can make good use of them, but you are free from them. And as I have said, that even the Buddha, you have to be free from the Buddha. There is a Zen teacher. One day in his Dharma talk, he said, I am allergic to the word Buddha. But sometimes I have to pronounce the word Buddha. But do you know, my friends, every time I have to utter the word Buddha, after that I have to go to the bathroom and rinse my mouth 3 times. That's the way the Zen people talk. They want to speak about freedom, and even freedom from Buddha. Because the Zen teacher, they have their own way, and their way is sometimes very strong. I'm allergic to the word Buddha. Every time I have to pronounce the word Buddha, and then I have to go back and rinse my mouth. It's something not very clean. It's a very strong statement. And then in audience, there was a Zen student who stood up and said, Dear teacher, I am also allergic to the word Buddha. Every time I hear you pronounce the word Buddha, I have to go to the river and wash my ear 3 times. I think that is a good couple of teacher and students. They are free from words and notions. Even the important words like Buddha or God, they are free from their notions. Because we may get Buddha and God only as notions and not the truth, the reality. So we have to be very careful. And of course, initially we have learned about dependent origination. Remember, we have that example on the clouds. There are many clouds in the sky, and these clouds they interact with each other, and they produce each other. But that is the lateral horizontal relationship. But we know also that all clouds come from the ocean, so there is a vertical relationship. So You are a cloud, but you carry the ocean with you. You are a human being, but you carry God inside of you. That is a vertical relationship. So there is the horizontal explanation, and there is a vertical. But these two should not be distinguished as two separate things. Looking into the horizontal, you see the vertical. And looking deeply into the vertical, you see the horizontal. So you have to remove the notion of horizontal and vertical at the same time. And we have learned that notions like being and non-being, good and evil, have to be removed. Because that is the way our mind consciousness perceive things. And if you describe God as the ground of being, we look him, we look her into a notion, the notion of being. If God is the ground of being, and who will be the ground of non-being? So we cannot think of God in terms of being and non-being. God transcends the term of being and non-being. As the Buddha said, the right view is a view that transcends both the notion of being and non-being. Not only that, but right view is also the view that transcends the notion of good and evil. And if you say that God is in control of the kingdom of goodness, and who will be in control of the kingdom of evil? So God, the ultimate, transcends both the notion of good and evil. And until you see that, you cannot see the plan of God, His intention. So that many people would try to say that if God is compassionate, why He has created something like death, tsunami, tempest, and things like that. Why He has allowed these things to happen? So theologians are trying to say that this is for you to learn. That is also good for you. But our mind is inclined to think that what is good is not causing suffering. Only the bad things that cause suffering. So that is our mind of discrimination. So we should not use that mind of discrimination in order to try to understand God. So that is why the deepest way, the most wonderful way to touch the ultimate is to remove notions, including the notion of being and non-being, good and evil. And we have learned that for Alaya Vishnana, everything is a wonder. There is no good, no evil in it. There is no being and non-being in it. It's only mind consciousness has these notions. We are caught in these notions, and these notions may be useful. But if you are caught in it, you suffer. Dear friends, there is a teacher in Hanoi, North Vietnam, who used to come to Plum and practice. She had cancer. Her name is Sister Dan Nguyen. She originally she came from my root temple. Because a monk from my root temple in Hue went to the north and set up a temple, and she was a great grandchild of that teacher. So she found out that she belonged to the Trio temple, so she came to France in order to meet thay. After that, she found out that she had cancer. And one day she said that I want to go to France and spend 3 months of practice. And after that, I will go back to Hanoi and die. And she accepted that. But she wants to spend her 3 months in Plum village, enjoy walking, sitting with Thầy and the Sangha. And that's why when she came, other sisters advised her to go to Bordeaux and see a doctor. She said, no, I don't need to see a doctor. I have accepted my death. I only want to spend all my time to be with you in Plum village. And during these 3 months, she enjoyed sitting, walking with all of us. And she felt very, we saw her very healthy. And before she went back to Hanoi to die, the sisters in the apartment urged her to go to the doctor. Just to have a look. And she agreed, and she went to the doctor. And the doctor found out that all the metastases had come, returned to ovaries. She was healthy after 3 months of practice. With joy, no fear, acceptance. So she continued to live for many, many years after that. 19 years, this can remind us. Almost 10 years. And she is very faithful. She is very eager to share the practice of Plum to the people in Hanoi, in Vietnam. Because we are still a communist country, it's difficult for us to organize retreats and practice like this. When a retreat is organized, many thousand people come and they don't like that, especially young people. So during Thay's visit in Vietnam, we were authorized to have some retreats. And each retreat for young people was attended by more than 5,000 people. And the party and the government didn't like that. They cannot control. People are so young, enthusiastic. And Sister Dam Nguyen, she built a stupa, a pagoda, a kind of memorial in her temple for Thai. Because in our tradition, every teacher should be honored by a pagoda, a temple, a stupa. And when I went to Hanoi for the first time in 2005, the stupa was already built. And I told her that Thai does not need a stupa. Thai doesn't like to sit in a stupa. He wants to be everywhere. But I have already built one for you, dear Thai. And they said, in that case, you have to make an inscription in the front of the stupa. And you have to say, I'm not India. I'm not India. And that is the fact. If you incinerate my body, you make some ashes, and you put in a small pot and put it. It's not me. I don't like to be in it. Outside is so beautiful. But if people don't understand, you have to add another sentence. I'm out there either. If you look from me inside, you don't see, and you go and look outside, you cannot see me either. And if they still don't understand, we have to add a third sentence. There is nothing inside, there is nothing outside. And the third is, if there is nothing, it must be found on your way of breathing and walking. If there is anything, that should be found in your way of breathing and walking. So, dear friends, if you want to be with Thay, if you want to see Thay's continuation, the surest place is in you. Your way of breathing, your way of walking, prove that Thay is in you. And you are a real continuation of Thay. The way Jesus Christ received the bread and break it and share it, they recognize that it is Jesus and not his body, his feelings, his perceptions. So the way the Buddha received the bread, break the bread and share the bread, make you recognize him as a living reality. So they care very much about his continuation body. And if you really want to care for that, and then the surest place to look for that is in your way of breathing. If you breathe in and out and you find peace and happiness and fulfillment, you know that Thầy is always with you. And when you walk from the parking lot to your office, and if you feel joy, fulfillment, happiness, Thầy is always walking with you. And you should wish a happy, beautiful continuation body. And you are that body. This is what we want to remind you as we are on our last day of the retreat. After this, you have the time to walk together and sit around the lotus pond. There are already blooming lotus flowers. And when we go home to our city, to our country, we continue this kind of practice. We set up a sangha if we don't have one already, and we are the true continuation of the Buddha. This is a happy moment, and we should be able to make that happy moment last. Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear Sangha. We will now hear some announcements from Brother Phapul.
Dear respected Thai, dear Sangha, I just have some announcements. So after this, we shall have walking meditation at 11:30. So we will be live streaming the singing as well as an introduction, and we will gather in front of the big meditation hall today. So instead of the bell tower, we will gather in front of the meditation hall. And then today we'll have a picnic lunch. And for tomorrow's program, the main event from Plum Village, France, that will be fourfold here, as well as live broadcast to the world, will begin at 10 o'clock here, a session called Remembering Thay. And please be here around 9:30. We'll do the Great Temple Bell as well as activity bell for all of us to gather. And for this session, we don't have to wear our sangati. So it will be more of sharing and reading some of Thai's biography, etc. So we have a program set up for that. And there will be two live stream optional sessions that we will also live stream here from Vietnam. It's a ceremony which will be at 7 a.m. And the other hamlets can do it in your own hamlet if you wish. And in the evening in Vietnam from 1 p.m. So 7 p.m. France time, it will be some formal gratitude, and we shall also just show that. But we also want to encourage the community to rest, because the program on the 28th, on the 29th, it starts at 12 a.m. So we need to be in here. The big temple bell will be invited at 11:30 p.m. for all of us to gather with our Sangati as we start the program for the funeral for Thay, bringing Thay to the crematory, cremation park. And it's gonna be a very long ceremony. So please, we also just tomorrow, just to have space to rest. Yeah. And now we just want to show some images of in Tehiu. They had the novice ordination this morning. I think they ordained 22 new novices, and we just like to show to the Sangha.
Dạ, chúng con cũng xin lỗi tại vì chúng con mới nhận những cái hình ảnh này cho nên chưa có sắp xếp là theo thứ tự được. Yeah. So we just received this picture from Vietnam, so we not have enough time to prepare. It's beautiful. So I'm sorry, but just enjoy the atmosphere of our root temple today. Thank you.
So we're just preparing for the slideshow of images from the novice ordination in Hue, Vietnam, that took place a few hours ago today. So you can
this
enjoy
morning,
this.
1,500 people joined us online to watch the Q&A with the Sangha here.
Thank you for bearing with us while we prepare the slideshow. It's coming. We have to download from, here we are, it's on its way. So here we can see the novices to be, the young monastics who will ordain in the gray robes. And this was a last minute ordination. So everyone who had already been preparing to be an aspirant, and also those who requested to be an aspirant, had a chance to ordain. Here we see Thay on the left, the elder of the EIB in Germany, leading the ceremony. And this is a mantra to praise to bless the water. Here's Sister Chang Kong with her hand on one of the ordinees' heads. So we, with a little flower, the sacred consecrated water is placed on their heads. This is Venerable Shuba Newman. And on the left of the screen, our elder sister Sako Trung and they are blessing the water. Thay from the Netherlands and Plum Village, who many of you know. And here are all the ordinees in gray, ready, having just received their Sangati robes. And so wonderful that they can ordain in front of Thay's shrine and coffin. So these images are in the full moon meditation hall in Tuhu. And after they ordain, we then receive the names. So everyone will receive the name. And then their heads are shaved. So at some point, we'll also upload photographs of everyone with shaved heads. So in this particular ordination family, okay. We are not yet seeing the slideshow. Okay, yeah, better to see the pictures and not me. You want my voice, but not the... Okay, we'll try again. So we will see if we can show the slides again. And I wonder if our brothers in the sound room can organize that for us. And I will try to explain what we're seeing in the pictures. Thank you. We have never done a live slideshow with commentary before, so we are learning as we go along. So dear friends, we will have walking meditation in about 20 minutes time. So if you need to take a break, please take a break, stretch, find something to drink, and we will gather again. For those of us following on YouTube, please know that it will be a different link. So it's in the description of this video, and you can also go to our YouTube channel. It will be the next live event, and we'll have some singing together, and then Brother Phaphu will introduce walking meditation, and we'll have a chance to follow the first few minutes of walking. It's a beautiful, misty morning here in Plum Village, a wintry day full of frost and mist, and so it's very nice for you to join us in this atmosphere here in Plum Village. So please do be sure to be with us online again in about 20 minutes time for the live walking meditation together with the Sangha here. And we can really feel the collective energy of nourishment today. There were, across YouTube and Zoom, 1,500 people joining us here on this day of mindfulness. So wonderful just to be together and to practice simply and to feel the Dharma rain of Thay's insight and his warmth and his love guiding us this morning. I think Thay's... So here's the slideshow coming. I hope you can still hear me. So the consecrated water is what the venerables are holding up, and it's placed after a short prayer on the heads of the ordinees. And these are the venerables that are very close to our community, who are helping to represent Thay to ordain everyone. Thay Phap on the left, Sister Chang Kong with her hands on one of the ordinees. Suko Hua Nyim. So those of you following internationally, you may recognize some of the venerables and elders who are present in these photos. And we can move through the photos and see. So everyone in gray is becoming a monastic, receiving the precepts, being blessed. Shuba Newman, one of the venerables from Hui, who's been a dear friend of our community, and Sako Trumjin, also on the left there. Hai Phap Ung from the Netherlands and from Plum Village. Oh, still not seeing the images. Okay, we're having some technical issues here. If you're in gallery view, make sure that you are in speaker view. So you go up to the top right to ensure that you can see. Okay, or you need to be in gallery view. So in this ordination family of the special time of Thay's continuation, we have a bell here. Okay, we have some logistical announcements here. So this family will have 40 members between Europe, America, and Vietnam, and it will be called the Mimosa family. Okay, still no images. Okay, we will post these images on the Plum Village website. I think that may be the easiest way to do this. Switch your view to gallery. Okay, so if you're not yet in gallery view, go up to top right and change it to gallery view, and then you will see the images, and you can then pin the slideshow. Many of you cannot see it. Okay, no gallery view. Maybe this is technically not possible for us to offer. So I think that's what we're learning. So we are sorry about that. Let me just see if there's one more thing we can do. Oh, we see now? We see now? Okay. Okay, right. Great. So would you like to visit these photos? Okay, we will try again. If you need to take a break, please take a break and you can watch this later. Here we are in the full moon meditation hall. And in this image, you can see Thay's shrine, Thay's casket, and then the ordinees sitting in the middle wearing gray, and all the elders and venerables in our tradition in the Sangati robes to represent Thay, to transmit the precepts to the new monks and nuns. And touching the earth after they've received the precepts and the Sangati. And so wonderful to see so many of the elders in our tradition who have been flying into Hue in the last few days from countries all over the world. And we're very grateful that the Vietnamese government allowed them to come directly to Tu Hieu. And here's everyone supporting. It's very early in the morning. I think the novice ordination was something like 3 or 4 in the morning in Vietnam. And you can see the forest in the temple, and then the monastics and lay friends supporting the ordination. Here's Thay Phap Ung. This is the image of blessing and consecrating the water. And you can see the other, everyone supporting down the line. You can see everyone wearing the memorial pins, and we've now uploaded this calligraphy to our website, so you can create your own memorial pin at home by printing that if you wish. So we can keep moving the photos along if we can. Or is that the end of the slideshow? We have there's one beautiful image of Sister Chang Kong that we would love to show to everyone if we can. And let's see, there we are. So it's so wonderful that Soko Chang Kong was able to participate. Here are some more venerables who are supporting. Shu Ah, so there's a venerable nun, not the one nearest the camera, but the next one is also one of our beloved aunt elders from Hue and from Vietnam, and a younger Dharma sibling of Thay. So wonderful that she can also be here to help transmit the precepts to the new novices. So there we are. These photos will be uploaded in high resolution and with descriptions to the Plum Village website, so you can follow them there. So thank you for celebrating this moment with us, and we'll see you in about 10 minutes or so for some singing before walking meditation. And so if you're able to join from your phone outside, that's wonderful, because then you can maybe just listen to the audio and sing along with the Sangha, and then maybe watch us start walking a bit, and then you yourself can start your walking at home. So thank you for being with us. And we'll also have a mindful meal together at lunchtime that we invite you all to join. And so we can just be really together as a Sangha with Thay in all of us. So thank you so much for joining us, and see you shortly. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.